first and foremost, how are you coping with lockdown? What have you been up to? How have you been keeping yourself nice and creative?
Well, I've been a bit of a strange one really, because I finished my last kind of big project with the comedy festival. So I was the marketing manager for Leicester Comedy Festival, just gone, and so that was kind of my last big project. And I knew that there was going to be a bit of slowdown anyway. So I was kind of mentally preparing for being a bit quiet. So I thought, oh, what can I do? I can try and self-start a few things. What I hadn't realised was obviously it was going to be a significant period of time where obviously, jobs become slightly few and far between. But I've been doing a few websites, just kind of more favours than anything else, but just helping out with a few websites. I've been trying to be as personally creative as possible, just with trying to draw. I'm not very good at drawing, but I've been watching Pete McKee. He's a Sheffield-based artist who's been doing simple cartooning exercises and stuff like that. But then also the main thing I've kind of been trying to focus on is Eye On Leicester, which basically is a series of short interviews with creative people in Leicester.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that was one of the reasons I wanted to chat to you today, really, was to find a little bit more about Eye On Leicester, so you could tell everybody, what it is. Kind of, obviously, you've already mentioned one of the main reasons that you inspired you to do it was because you had time on your hands and you wanted to get a bit creative. But was there anything else? Was this something you had in the pipeline for a while? Tell us a bit more about it and how it came about.
Yeah, it's something that I'd thought of for a long time. I've been lucky enough to work across a wide variety of artists in my career. I'm mainly a producer of creative festivals and events, usually in the not-for-profit charity sector. So previously worked for Artreach, for Big Difference Company, for the Comedy Festival, like I said, and that's enabled me to kind of work across this wide variety of creative people, and been able to do it nationally, but also do a lot of work in Leicester. So I've kind of developed a big network of people who I knew, who I thought, these are amazing people who do amazing work, very rarely shout about it. So there are a lot of other people, kind of backstagey kind of people as well. So I really wanted to kind of put that spotlight on them, and kind of showcase Leicester is creative and vibrant and able to cope in periods of challenge.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, I saw the branding when it came up, and I was like, "Oh, that looks fun. That looks exciting." So well done on creating it. I have seen some good stuff actually. I've seen some theatre, theatre being produced over Zoom, all kinds of things. I think there's a certain challenge to trying to be creative in times such as these, but I think it can be done if you have the right motivation and the right people, for sure. And I think Leicester's the right city to give it a go, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's a case of, I think sometimes people got the notion that, right, this is now where I have to better myself. I have to do something. I have to learn a language. I have to now run 10K a day, and that kind of thing. Whereas, like, I think people need to be easier on themselves, and kind of more accept that it's a bit different and a bit weird, and the fact that we don't know the longevity of it should hopefully give people the time to think things through and to kind of be kind of not necessarily improve themselves, but kind of know themselves a bit more and know what their capabilities are and what their capacity is. Because I think some people, I've thought this as well, especially early on, I've got to be working, I've got to be doing this, I've got to be doing more stuff. And really it's more about working out how best you work. And maybe you've kind of gone 100 miles an hour for the last 20 years of your life, and this is actually an opportunity for you to take stock and kind of slow down a bit. But Leicester's full of a wide variety of people who work in so many different ways, and I've seen that in my work.
Yeah, I think it's a moment of reflection, for sure, self-reflection. But I think that the point you made there is quite an important one. not to be the kind of be who you are as opposed to what the expectation of who you should be in these times. Because there is I was speaking to someone the other day about the pressure to be creative during this time, because like you said, there's so much time on our hands. There isn't a lot of work for everybody. So it's like, well, you should be being creative. You should be doing those personal projects that you've said you would do for X amount of time. But I think it's baby steps. And I think kudos to you for getting that off the ground. I mean, you've recently gone freelance, right? You were an arts producer working for, you were Outreach, weren't you, for a while?
Yeah. So I went freelance in September. I've been at Outreach for, in the office as producer for special events for about 2.5 years. But before that, I've been working as a freelance stage manager for them and stuff as well. So I've been with the company really for, nearly 7 years. Yeah, I went freelance. I wanted to kind of spread my creative wings and kind of do more things. Like I owe a lot to Outreach in terms of the work that I've done, the experience that I've got. I thought I don't want to do more. I want to kind of get out there and kind of see what's going on. So it's been really strange being freelance. I've been very used to working in an office in a general 9-to-5 environment. Obviously, festivals and events mean you work weekends and evenings regularly, but that kind of set clock kind of thing is quite ingrained. So it's been weird to be kind of really open and free to kind of do however I want. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to motivate myself to start the day as early as I would have done.
We've all been there, don't worry. It's a transition.
But otherwise, it's been really exciting. I've got to do more work in community cinema, which is a massive passion of mine. I did film my undergraduate before doing my postgrad in cultural events management. But so film's a massive thing for me. So being able to work a little bit more, and that's been fascinating.
Oh, that's cool. So you're finding it okay then? You found for the most part, the adjustment has been a good one for you.
Yeah, it's been weirdly, I was probably working more than full time for the first 6 months of freelancing. And then this has been the kind of first real slow down and, take your time. And now you've got to think about when the next work's coming, which has been quite strange. Apart from that, it's been nice. I've enjoyed it, definitely.
Good. So I've been asking this question. This is another bonus question for you. One book, film, TV show, app, or game that you would recommend during lockdown?
Oh, okay. Can I go for a podcast?
Yeah, you can go for a podcast. Yeah.
Because I literally listened to one this morning, so it's the first thing that's come into my head. I've always been rubbish with history, but kind of fascinated, but never found it that engaging. But I've started listening to a BBC podcast called You're Dead to Me, which is written and produced by one of the, he describes himself as the head nerd on horrible histories, Greg Jenner, and he has a historian or a professor of the subject each week, and then a comedian. So I've just listened this morning to one about Saladin, who's a Middle Eastern warrior, kind of in the Crusades kind of time, and yeah, it's fascinating, and I feel like I'm learning more, so I'm trying to listen to one of them each day. There's about 25 or something, so I'll run out soon, but that's very exciting.
But you'll be an expert afterwards, so that's good. Well, I don't know about that. Brilliant. I'll get a link from that for you if you don't mind. You send me one and I'll stick it on the comments at the end. Fantastic. So where can people find Eye On Leicester then? They want to come have a look at the writing and all the bits you're doing. Yeah. Where can they find it?
So at the moment, we are on Instagram as kind of the social media platform of choice, and that is at Eye On Leicester. But then also there's the domain website, which thanks to a few internet gremlins, I had to start off with a slightly weird, wonky .wixsite.com kind of thing. Thankfully now I've been able to get the domain, so it is eyeonleicester.co.uk, which is great. And yeah, so the website will be updated. At the moment, I'm trying to do a couple a week, just to kind of get it going, but it will probably end up being once a week once we kind of flatten out a little bit. But yeah, we've got one coming out today, This is so Tuesday of this week, the 21st of April. So that's going to be coming out at about 5 o'clock. And then we'll do another one later in the week as well. But yeah, we're kind of using Instagram to, I found Instagram really good for the arts and kind of interacting with people like that. And especially in this time, I've seen a lot of people doing Instagram lives and doing performance through Instagram and that kind of thing. So I like the flavor that Instagram has. Facebook's been really good as well, though. So just on my personal account, I've been sharing them on Facebook. So people have been seeing them from there too. But yeah, Instagram at Eye On Leicester and www.eyeonleicester.co.uk are the main kind of places to go.
Awesome, cool, and we'll definitely put some links at the end so people can go check that out. I think you're right about Instagram. I think it's, I think I've seen it as more of a social tool now than I ever have before. Yeah. It's, I've seen, you know, Instagram stories has been a big thing for me for Creative Coffee. We've been doing lots of them. We've been getting lots of engagement, sharing lots of other people's work and what they're up to as well has been quite fun for us to put that out there. And I think it's changed the way we use it a little bit. Like before, we kind of sort of took it for granted, and now we're kind of using it as our main tool to kind of push stuff out and promote stuff. So it's really cool. What was my question I was going to ask? There was in terms of being a producer, if you had to give some advice to someone who wants to go into the arts and kind of and produce and be or even maybe be a freelance producer, is there anything you've learned over the years that you would kind of pass on to them?
Really early stages, I would say. Volunteering is massive. I know it's a cliche, but it definitely worked for me. I volunteered for everything that I could because I'm not an artist, so I'm not a painter. I'm not necessarily. I've not got that one discipline that I'm really good at or anything like that. So I wanted to learn about everything. So that put me in really good stead for my work. So when I was volunteering at university, I was doing film festivals, but then I was also doing just general events at the university. But then I've come out and I did the first city festival in Leicester. I was a surveyor and a steward for that. And then that led me on to actually volunteering for Outreach, which then led me on to working as a stage manager, which then led me on to being a producer for them. So massive advocate for volunteering in the arts. So much so that I wrote a case study for an academic text that DMU use. It's called Principles of Festival Management, which is really, really helpful for people starting out and kind of wanting to kind of get case studies and get ideas and kind of get their creative brains flowing. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that, not just because I've written in it, but I would also say that being open to everything is really important. I think some people kind of look at, say, I don't know, let's say they're a musician, but they want to work in the arts widely, and they will then go, well, I don't know anything about photography, or I don't know anything about visual arts. Learn it, go and kind of experience it, go and have a look at things, because there is a lot of things, a lot of patterns and themes that kind of ricochet and echo in creative circles that you can kind of, you get an idea of it and then you can start building on that. So I'd say definitely be open to everything. It is really great if you want to be specific and really want to kind of go down that route, but it's quite a narrow route. So I think I've really benefited from kind of being open to everything and kind of learning as much as I can over the last few years.
So from what I can gather, then it's being hungry, really. That especially the volunteering, it's just throwing yourself in and just kind of putting yourself in as many situations as you can to kind of get that experience, straight away.
Yeah, there's a big the industry is massive. Like financially, it is a massive industry. I think people kind of don't realise how much money the arts actually brings into economies and that kind of thing. It's always the kind of thing where you kind of convince your parents that it's actually
yeah. Well, I think to be fair, Leicester is quite well, at least internally, and I think increasingly externally, it's known now for the arts. We are building this incredible hub of creative industries and arts in the city, and I think the council and the city mayor are aware of that kind of presence as well, and they're doing everything they can to support culture and arts more, which is great.
And Leicester's one of the only city councils that still has a festivals and events team. Very few city councils across the country have a dedicated team to festivals and events. So that shows that for whatever political thinking that you have, yeah, definitely support festivals and events.
Yeah, fantastic. There's definitely value there, 100%. Well, thanks for talking to me today, mate. It's been a fantastic little talk. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me.
No, and good luck with Eye On Leicester. Look forward to seeing what comes out, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks very much.
All right, mate. Take care. Bye.
Bye.